Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Works You Collect Compulsively. This is where I talk about works I collect compulsively. Only my top five, the versions that I turn to when I want to listen to the work for pleasure. This is not my totally objective survey of all of the best recordings in the history of the universe. These are my favorites. And you can give me your favorites too. I'm talking now about Mahler's Symphony No. 2, The Resurrection. This was the first piece by Mahler that I heard. And I remember like yesterday, everything about my first encounter with it. Of course, it was on disc. It wasn't live, even though it was actually done live at Yale by the Yale Symphony or the Yale Philharmonic, one of those, not the... there are two orchestras at Yale. There's the music school orchestra, and then there's the not music school orchestra with everybody else in it. And the conductor was Otto Werner Müller, and I didn't know what that was, and I didn't go and see it. I really wish I had, because I'm sure it would have thrilled me beyond words. But anyway, I used to read the arts and leisure section of the New York Times. Remember when they used to have like real music coverage? And they reviewed a new release. It was in 72 or 74, maybe 74. Someone will tell me the date of the recording, so I'm not worried about it particularly. But they reviewed the Mahler Second Symphony conducted by Leopold Stokowski. It was a new release. And I was very intrigued. I really was. And so I went to my local record store, which was in downtown Milford. And it actually is now in Orange. I think it was Merle's Record Rack, I think it was called, and I think it's still around, selling used LPs and things like that. But in any case, back in the day, it was in downtown Milford, and I pedaled my way down, and I knew the guys there, of course, because I was the only classical music customer they had, and I would order things. And I ordered the Mahler 2 with Stokowski, and it arrived in due course, and I took it home, and I put it on, and it just blew me away. I mean, I remember so well in the finale when the chorus sings "Was du geschlagen," and the cymbals and bass drum come in with this crash on "geschlagen." Schlagen. It's geschlagen, what you have suffered or conquered, or Anyway, whatever it means, it doesn't make any difference. Just on that note, I was just laying down and listening to it, and I just got catapulted out of bed. I just went, bah! Sat up, and I said, oh, it just was astonishing. After that, I wanted to hear more, because I also read that Stokowski did his usual Stokowski things with it. He diddled the orchestration and all that. And it was a piece of music that I just never heard an orchestra used like that before. To take that many instruments and just cause complete sonic mayhem with them. I mean, it was just beyond thrilling. So then I got Bernstein's Sony recording, which was the latest one that he'd done in London with the London Symphony Orchestra, which sounded very, very different, not surprisingly. And after that, I was hooked. I mean, I just got every single recording of it I could get my hands on. And what really astonished me was how different they all sounded from each other. And I didn't really understand what was going on until I, actually got a score of Mahler 2 and sat and actually looked at the thing and saw how many instruments were playing and how much detail Mahler included in the score, and how virtually impossible it was for any one conductor to get the whole thing right, to do everything that was written down there in a way that, I liked, in the way that I wanted to hear. Nobody does it all 100% rightly. I mean, there's moment after moment after moment when I saw what Mahler wrote, and I saw that it was only being realized to a certain degree in every performance. And some performances did more than others. Some performances realized certain moments better than others, but nobody got all of it. Nobody. And nobody has to this day. But there are performances that I think, do more than others, and that, beyond the details, realize the general, overall concept of the work. I mean, the piece just has to blow you away. It has to be a special occasion. It cannot be played as a routine night at the symphony type thing, which is what has happened to it. It's become a routine night at the Symphony, and unfortunately, not the occasion that the music just begs for. I mean, it's so clear that's what it is. So here are my top five. First, the San Francisco Symphony with Blomstedt, which has a fabulous chorus, by the way. And it's on Decca, and it was a total surprise because Blomstedt was a sort of Strauss, Nielsen, Sibelius guy. He's said, things about Mahler, like, and Bernstein's performances and things that they were, he's not the kind of guy to let it all hang out emotionally. Let's put it that way. And Mahler was. I mean, you can play it, hot and heavy or somewhat cooler, but the feeling's still got to be there. But what Blomstedt really is also is a fabulous musician and one who's terribly respectful of what the composer wanted. And for some reason, this Mahler too, he just knocks that out of the park. It's an absolutely first-class performance, very well recorded, and it shocked me to death when I heard it. I was expecting nothing, and what I got was one of the great Mahler twos, which I still enjoy enormously to this day. Then also a big surprise, the St. Louis Symphony and Leonard Slatkin. Now, Slatkin did a Mahler 1 for Telarc, which was just completely uninteresting. And then he did the second on Telarc. He's on record as not being a particularly sympathetic Mahler conductor, and which is fine. No one has to be. And yet, I find that some of the greatest Mahler performances are done by people who are not terribly sympathetic Mahler conductors, like, Muti's Mahler 1, for example, people who don't do lots of Mahler, but they're selective and they only do the things that they can really do well or that are particularly meaningful. And this was a performance where just everything went right. The sonics are stunning. The performance is very direct and straightforward. It's not full of all kinds of, push me, pull you stuff, but it, like all of the best performances, it realizes more of what Mahler wrote than just about, any other performance. And the sonics are drop dead glorious. When the organ comes in at the end, it makes you throb to the innermost core of your foundational being. And that's what you want. Unfortunately, I think that performance is like out of print. And, Telarc desperately needs to do a Slatkin box, and it's just a shame. But wow, what a performance this is. It really is amazing. Then there's the old New York Philharmonic with Bruno Walter. Surprisingly, Bruno Walter is sort of an interesting character because, everyone talks about what a gentle soul he was. And, emotionally, kind of reticent. He's old school German. He's great with Brahms. He's great with Mozart. That was his thing. And so even though he was a disciple of Mahler and a dedicated Mahlerian, you wouldn't expect, him to realize the big moments. But one thing Walter also was he wasn't inhibited. He didn't underplay Mahler. He was direct. He was very much like Leonard Slatkin, actually. He was direct and to the point and not, emotionally exaggerated in any particular way. But when Mahler said fortissimo on the tam-tam, you got a fortissimo tam-tam. When Mahler said, I want to hear the organ, you hear the organ. He understood how to play the big moments. He understood how to ride a climax, how to let the orchestra do its thing. And the result is a really first-class Mahler, too, with a thrilling conclusion. Again, it's probably got the best recorded organ presence of any performance, mono, stereo, before or since. It's really, really good. And he leaves out nothing of significance anywhere. He realizes what Mahler wanted. He understood what to do, and he brought, to, the party his own very natural, effortless, unassuming musicality. So, so far, it's rather interesting, actually. And this next one. This next one is the Amsterdam Concertgebouw, which was not yet the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra of Amsterdam. The Amsterdam Concertgebouw with Haitink in his first recording of the second. And it was wonderful. First of all, it features the old Concertgebouw before they internationalized their sound and started, timbrally resembling everybody else. You have those tight trombones. You have the really fabulous woodwinds. Well, they still have fabulous woodwinds, but the balance, in balance terms. I mean, you have these woodwind sonorities, which are just tremendous. The woodsy sounding horns, not brassy at all. You have that strange tam-tam that they used, which is absolutely marvelous in pianissimo. The louder it gets, the less you hear of it, but quietly, it's a fabulous sound. All of these instruments and these instrumental sonorities have really vanished. They really vanished. So just to hear them play it and play it with incredible discipline and dedication is really, really wonderful. It's absolutely beautifully sung. It's got, I think it's got Ellie Ameling or Afia Haynes or somebody's in there. And it's just really good. Really, 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 really good. I think it's a wonderful sounding performance. And it's maybe close to some of the sounds that Mahler heard himself when he was in Amsterdam. I don't know. But it's a very, very compelling performance, and certainly better than anything Haitink did later in the same work. And I love it. And like I was saying, or as I was about to say, all four of these performances are on the less interventionist side of the Mahler spectrum, which I find very interesting, actually, because you come back to these performances because of their innate musicality and their respect for what Mahler wrote and asks them to do. And I think it's going to be rare to find conductors who bring, more than that to the table. Bernstein was one of them, but it took him a few times to get it right. He recorded the Mahler 2, the whole Mahler 2. He also did bits of it, but the whole Mahler 2 3 times. The first recording was one of his earliest Mahler performances. It was from the early 60s or late 50s, around the same time as the Bruno Walter, actually, maybe just a bit later. I think the Bruno Walter performance is superior on the whole. But his first Mahler 2, it also has some recording anomalies, like the cymbals are off mic and some strange things like that. But it's still better than his London Symphony remake, which is on the way to his final conception of it, but not quite there yet. And it's not well recorded. It was the recording from Ely Cathedral, and it's a bit screechy, and it has dead spots, which is rare for a Bernstein recording. But he resolved all of that in his final Deutsche Grammophon recording, again with the New York Philharmonic, from a series of concerts that I attended. I mean, it's not because I attended them that I think it's so wonderful. It's wonderful because it's wonderful. I mean, Bernstein goes in 100%. And yes, there are some exaggerated tempos, a bit of slow, a bit of fast here and there. But, all of it is justified by what Mahler is asking for. It's just a question of degree. And some people might find that the degree is excessive. I just think that it's a performance that leaves you in a quivering heap when it's over. It really, really is an amazing performance, fabulously well played and very well recorded. For a live recording from Avery Fisher Hall at that time. Everything went really, really well. The soloists are who Christa Ludwig and Barbara Hendricks, I think. And it is totally wonderful. But, not better, in my view, than the other, well, in terms of my own listening pleasure, than the other four that I've just listed. They all have their various, beauties and advantages and disadvantages. And depending on my mood, I might be listening to any one of them. So those are my top 5. Remember, there's a limit of 5 in this series. We can't go beyond that. But I think these are really extraordinary performances of a symphony, which is still, just from its sheer sonic conception, one of the most remarkable things ever written for the orchestra. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.